Everyone from around the world. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Elombah television tonight. We have a very interesting topic to discuss. It is no longer news that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of IPOB, was arrested and extradited to Nigeria. There is no gainsaying the fact that since he became the director of Radio Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu has put the issue of the agitation for an independent sovereign state of Biafra in the front burner of Nigeria politics. And now, today, since his arrest, people are asking, what does this bode for the agitation for Biafra? Is it the end of it? Well, we know there are other groups agitating for an independent state of Biafra as well. Each of them had their own modus operandi. And one of the foremost proponent of an independent nation of Biafra is Mr. Emekesiri, who is the chairman of the indigenous people of Biafra customary government. Mr. Emekesiri, you are welcome to our program tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you for having me in this program.
Right. We also have Dr. Nwaezeigwe. Dr. Nwaezeigwe needs no introduction. He's an expert in Nigeria's history, Oriental history, African religious political conflict, and has a lot to say about the origin of the first Biafra and the conflict going on today in Nigeria with regards to ethnic nationalism. Dr. Nwaezeigwe, you are welcome to our program. Also, Mr. or Dr. Mefor. Dr. Mefor is the leader of Igbo socio-cultural organization, a foremost commentator on Igbo political affairs. But by no means the least, Mr. Uche Madu. Mr. Uche Madu is the leader of movement for the realization of the sovereign state of Biafra. Mr. Emekesiri, when you first heard about the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu, what immediately came to your mind?
Asking me what entered my mind?
Yeah, what came to your mind when you heard about this arrest?
Well, what came to my mind is that the case that was stopped in 2017 will continue, because I'm aware that he was standing trial in 2017 before he now left the country. And so when I heard that he was arrested and brought back to the country, what came to my mind is that, okay, that means the trial will now continue. That's what came to my mind.
Do you see that as having any bearing on the agitation for Biafra, positive or negative?
No. He was arrested because of the crimes they accused him of committing. I think that the caption of this interview appears to be misleading, with due respect, because it appears to say that he was arrested because of Biafran struggle, and therefore what next for the Biafran struggle? No, he was not arrested because of Biafran struggle. He was arrested because of the crimes they accused him of committing. So let it be clear, the crimes they accused him of committing, that's why he was arrested, not because he's into Biafran struggle. All of us are into Biafran struggle, but nobody arrested us. It's because of the crimes they accused him of committing. So, why will he stop Biafra struggle? He is standing trial not because of Biafra struggle, but because of the crimes they accused him of.
Okay, how would you expect the Nigeria government to proceed now that he is now in their custody? You are a lawyer.
Now, the rule of law is that an accused person is presumed innocent until proved guilty beyond reasonable doubt. That is the rule of law. So now that they brought him and now he's standing trial, first I give credit to the Nigerian government that has provided him with opportunity for fair hearing. I must give credit to them, because from what I read, I understood that he was arrested and kept about almost 2 weeks or more than or about 10 days or 2 weeks before we even knew what happened. So from the stories I've been hearing, I think he was arrested almost 2 weeks ago, or before we now started hearing what happened. Before his followers, his members even knew where he was. So something could have happened. If they had wanted to kill him, terminate him, silence him, dispose of his body, dissolve his body with acid or whatever, they could have done that, but they didn't. They now brought him to face trial. So I give the Nigerian government credit for at least providing opportunity for fair hearing. And that is what we want in law. An accused person is presumed innocent until proved guilty. So that's what so our eyes are upon the trial. Let us hope that the cause of justice, law, rule of law, justice shall prevail. That is it. We are lawyers. We are not involved in other things, but we are just lawyers.
All right. Okay. Dr. Nwaezeigwe, thank you for coming back. What do you have to say about the arrest of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu at this point?
Well, before I say anything, I would like Barrister Emekesiri, the crimes Nnamdi Kanu actually committed, since he tries to dissociate the struggle of Biafra from his arrest. So we want to be guided so that we know where we are talking from. I would like him to expatiate what crimes did Nnamdi Kanu commit outside the agitation. Before I say so, I want you to explain, because he expressly said that he was not being charged, he was not being prosecuted because of the struggle for I would like to know before I proceed.
All right, let's go back to Mr. Emekesiri then. How would you respond to what Dr. Nwaezeigwe have just said?
If you look at okay, that's a very good question. If you look at the charge sheet, there's something called charge sheet. Charge sheet. When someone is accused of a crime, the prosecutors will make a charge sheet. Inside that charge sheet, they will list the charges. If you read the charges, you will never see a place that says because you are agitating for Biafra freedom. They will say that. So go and read the charge sheet now. You will never see the place say we are prosecuting you because you are engaged in independent struggle for Biafra. That is not correct, because Nigerian law guarantees agitation for independence. Under Cap 10 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 1990, which is also now Cap A9 Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, Article 20. It says, in fact, I can read it out for you. I can quote it. It says that all peoples have the right to existence, that all people have the right to self-determination. In fact, that clause says they have the unquestionable and inalienable right to self-determination, and they have the right to determine their political status. That is Nigerian law. So, in fact, it said that that law, go and read it again. It says that you have the right to agitate for freedom by any means acceptable by the international community. Now, I'm quoting Nigerian law. Maybe let me read it out for you. Let me read it out. So that you know that I'm reading Nigerian law. I'm reading Nigerian law. Cap 10 Laws of the Federation of 1990, or Cap A9 Laws of the Federation 2004. Article 1, subsection 1. All people shall have the right to existence. They shall have the unquestionable and inalienable right to self-determination. They shall freely determine their political status and shall pursue their economic and social development according to the policy they have freely chosen. Then 2, subsection 2 said, colonized or oppressed peoples shall have the right to free themselves from the bonds of domination. They shall have the right to free themselves from the bonds of oppression by resorting to any means recognized by the international community. This is Nigerian law I'm quoting. This is Nigerian law. That you have the right to struggle for freedom. Nigerian law I'm quoting. So we are engaged in it. So what I'm saying is that they arrested Nnamdi Kanu based on the accusations laid against him. They accused him. Go and look at the charge sheet of what they accused him. They didn't accuse him because he is struggling for self-determination of the Biafrans. So you have to understand that.
All right.
I asking me what crime? You're asking me what crime did he commit?
Okay.
Am I the person who charged him? It is a prosecution that should prove his crime now.
Now, let me ask you. Now,
it appears that Dr. Nwaezeigwe is not. Before we proceed, please, Comrade Barry Endo, I want to confirm whether you are the Uche Madu. Can you unmute yourself? Comrade Barry Endo, are you Uche Madu, please?
No, I'm not Uche Madu.
Okay, if Uche Madu said he's joined, but I don't know, I can't identify him here. I don't know, wonder what name he joined.
No, I'm not Uche Madu.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying. I cannot see Uche Madu on this forum. I cannot see Mefor. Uche Madu is sending me a message that he joined. But be that as it may, Dr. Nwaezeigwe appears to have dropped again. I think he's having network issues. For clarity, let us see the charges against Nnamdi Kanu so that we'll be talking from the position of clarity. This is a Vanguard newspaper report I'm sharing. FG plus fresh charges against IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu. He said one of the allegations, they discovered they want to incorporate fresh allegations. The charges currently pending against Kanu at the Federal High Court in Abuja borders on terrorism, treasonable felony, unlawful possession of firearms, and managing an unlawful society. So these are the charges against Nnamdi Kanu. For emphasis, they are Nnamdi Kanu was charged with terrorism, treasonable felony, unlawful possession of firearms, and management of an unlawful society. My question to Mr. Emekesiri will be at this point. When the federal government says management of an unlawful society, what do they mean? Can you clarify that position?
Yeah, any organization formed that has intention of committing an unlawful act is described as unlawful society. What makes an organization lawful or unlawful is the object, what they are doing. So from what you read out now, he said treasonable felony, terrorism, possessing firearms, unlawful possession of firearms. And these things are done by his society or his organization. So if an organization is engaged in possessing unlawful, if an organization is engaged in possessing firearms, engaged in treasonable felony, engaged in what first thing you mentioned about terrorism, that organization will not be regarded as unlawful society. So that is what it is if your organization begins to operate contrary to the law. It is called unlawful organization. And then if you're managing that unlawful organization, it's a crime.
All right. Dr. Nwaezeigwe is back now. So,
okay. Just before I proceed, yes, just before I proceed, a distinction between self-determination and secession. As a lawyer, give us the distinction between self-determination, as you quoted from your cap or hat of Nigerian law, whatever terms you lawyers apply, and secession. Can we know the difference?
Secession and self-determination are the same thing. They are one
secession
thing.
And self-determination.
The same. Okay. Secession.
Yes.
And self-determination.
Yes.
Now let me explain properly. To secede means to separate from where you belong and be on your own. That is secession. You secede. Now, self-determination is to decide how your political status will be, whether to pull out entirely or another form of freedom. It can be freedom within Nigeria or freedom outside Nigeria. Self-determination is that you determine your political status. That self-determination may mean you decide to leave Nigeria. You leave Nigeria, that is secession. It's allowed. Or you now you now become autonomous within Nigeria. It's still the same way of exercising self-determination. So for us as Biafrans, we want outright freedom. We want to be free from Nigeria entirely.
Fine. That's what
Hold on.
Talking about the legal. We are looking at the legality aspect. We are looking at the legal aspect. You have not addressed my question. You are looking, why is secession a crime? Given in the constitution, if secession, why is secession a reasonable felony? And
no.
Why if secession and self-determination are the same, why the civil war in 1967? Because we're talking about crimes. You don't ask me to go and look at charge sheets. I've been to court, I've been charged for many crimes. If you are charged for armed robbery, it is armed robbery. It is not the duty of the prosecuting officer to enumerate the different kinds of armed robbery crime. So if you're accused of secession, if you're accused of coup, there must be lines of accusations in order to give to your acts and determine them to be illegal. So yes, I'm surprised that an Igbo man will be coming here. Yes, I'm talking. I'm talking. It's now my turn to talk. After you can now talk, you have answered my question. I'm surprised that an Igbo, the reason why Nnamdi Kanu was actually being incarcerated or being prosecuted. I am not a Biafran. I'm an Igbo, but I am not a Biafran. But as an Igbo, I have sympathy for the Biafran struggle. I may not be a fan of Nnamdi Kanu on the way he's taking it, but on factual basis, we have to look at the points as they are before trying to draw up sentimental appeal for those maybe who are looking around or those who are in authority. The basic point is that Nnamdi Kanu is being arrested and prosecuted because of his call for secession of the old Biafran states. Biafra is a term. Biafra conceptually in Nigerian historical politics is all about secession. And whether you're on MASSOB, whether you're BNI, Biafran National Movement, or whatever, whether you're IPOB, it is defined as secession. And so secession under whatever law is treasonable felony, just as coup plotting. Secondly, back to your question, Mr. Elombah, the point is that when Nnamdi Kanu was arrested, I knew he fell into a trap because oftentimes I've seen him as being reckless, both in his speeches and unguided in the way he presents himself. and he did not actually present him as a strong revolutionary, because there are indices that make up an ardent revolutionary, which he lacks. And again, talking about how it will affect Biafra, I don't think his arrest has anything to do with the Biafra struggle, because most struggles go with fashions. Moreover, Nnamdi Kanu is just one person. Nnamdi Kanu did not start the idea. The idea started from MASSOB, from somebody, and before he now appropriated his own. And even at this stage, there are also other factions operating. If you look at other countries like Southern Sudan, like Eritrea, and other, let's just take two, Southern Sudan and Eritrea, I found that they started with different factions. So it does not mean that when a leader of, even when a leader of a faction is gone, what is in the struggle is the mind, is the mindset. But what I believe that the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu, we try to bring, to refashion the pattern of this struggle, which is becoming national in character, which is becoming sentimentally expressed by even non-Igbo people, and other people. So I believe that the rest of is actually the recklessness of those who, for the sake of following him, without knowing the historical basis of Biafra. Let me stop here for the meantime.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Nwaezeigwe. Let's hear Mr. Emekesiri again. Mr. Emekesiri, you are the chairman of the Governing Council, Customary Government of the Indigenous People of Biafra. Can you enlighten us the relationship between your organization and the IPOB that is led by Nnamdi Kanu? Because both of them appears to answer IPOB. So is there any relationship between the organization and the IPOB led by Nnamdi Kanu?
Nnamdi Kanu was with us before. You know, he came from MASSOB and joined us. And we put him in the media department. You know, when you started your introduction, you said that when he was the director of Radio Biafra, that he put the Biafran struggle and the burner, in the front burner, you know, that from that time, Biafra has been known all over the world. Yes, we knew his talent. We recognized his talent in media work, in broadcasting. So we said he should be director of the media. That was what we gave him. While the elders were in leadership, we call them the Supreme Council of Elders of Indigenous People of Biafra. Then the first leader was His Royal Majesty, Honorable Justice Ezosobu. He's late now. The deputy leader was Dr. Dozie Ikedife. He's late now. The Secretary General was Colonel Achuzie. He's late now. The other members, you know, and we continued like that as Indigenous People of Biafra, IPOB. In fact, that acronym IPOB was coined by Dr. Dozie Ikedife. I created the body Indigenous People of Biafra. Dr. Dozie Ikedife coined the acronym IPOB in 2013. You know, so things were going well, and we continued in court. And Nnamdi was in our media department as director of the media. He was doing well, but we didn't know he had ulterior motive. He now started misbehaving and causing problems, and so the elders tried to warn him. The elders tried their best to warn him. He refused to listen. Then the elders excommunicated him on 12th of May 2014. We excommunicated him. So, you know, instead of going, he now used our name. He now used our name to start another faction. You know, and it's a long story, but he's not among, we have excommunicated him. The authorities know about it. Nigerian government knows about it. British government knows about it. German government knows about it. All the countries of the world we already interacted with, we notified all. We published it, so they know about us. So if you say, is there any relationship between them and us? No, we excommunicated him. And when we excommunicated him, people like Uche, Mefor, and some others followed him in sympathy. And I understand that those people who followed him have left him now, because they didn't see what the elders saw. So imagine a person who will say that without violence there will be no Biafra, that he will kill all the elders, you kill the Igbo leaders, the Igbo leaders are saboteurs. And so they were threatening, he threatened and threatened and threatened to kill us. When they threatened to kill me, I did not really worry. It was when they threatened to kill Dr. Dozie Ikedife that I became angry. And I called Imam Mezi. I called Imam Mezi and warned him, if you and your followers kill Dr. Dozie Ikedife Ikenga Nnewi, I'm going to mobilize the whole Igbo nation to come to your village in Owerri and burn down your village. I know his village in Owerri. That I will make sure that the whole Igbo nation will be Igbo against Owerri. Imam Mezi he's not the one who sent them to go and kill Dr. Ikedife. Imagine a lot of things happen. I don't want to remember those things anymore. So he is not with us. He is on his own. I have said it. Nnamdi Kanu does not speak for the Igbo nation. He has his own agenda. So I don't want to concern myself with that. He has his own members. He has his own lawyers. They should be able to sort out the problem.
All right. I thank you very much. Uche and Madu is now here with us. Comrade Madu is now here with us. MASSOB. Comrade Madu, you've been on our program before, but for the benefit of our listeners, first of all, you're welcome. Can you explain to us the nature of your own organization now, MASSOB? Can you tell us about your own organization?
Yeah. Once again, and I salute you, Elombah. Thank you, and I acknowledge the presence of other participants. I can see a lot of them. Some are my friends. I have personal close relationship with them. Some actually I may not know them, but at the same time I say welcome. My name is Comrade Uche Nnamdi, the leader of MASSOB. You know, I don't want to go into details of MASSOB. We all know that MASSOB was founded by our former leader, Chief Rafo Wazirike, now the leader of BIM. A lot of things happened. This platform is not what I'm here to explain. I want to talk quickly on the topic we have here, the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu. What next for the Biafran struggle? I think that's the main issue why we gather this evening. I have to tell us something. Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of IPOB or his own faction of IPOB, as Emekesiri may have said, is one of us. There's no way we can deny him. There's no way we can betray him. Whatever he's passing through in the name of Biafra for our people. It doesn't really matter much what he may have done. We all have made one or two mistakes. Myself, as a matter of fact, all the leaders of pro-Biafran groups, one way or the other, we've made a lot of mistakes. Nnamdi Kanu is not an exemption. Nnamdi Kanu, though, is not an saint. No one is a saint here. All of us are talking about Biafra. We have our different ideologies and methodologies. We do follow. In MASSOB, we prefer non-violence. Nnamdi Kanu have his own methodology. Emekesiri of IPOB of Customary government has his own methodology. BIM have their own methodology. Likewise, every other pro-Biafran groups. We have a lot of them, about 20 in number. They have their own system of approaching Biafra. Nnamdi Kanu have his own system. I think with his present predicament or condition in the hand of our oppressors, there's no need of condemning Nnamdi Kanu here. It doesn't mean much. At the end of the day, he will still come out. What he's passing through is the same thing we must pass through for the sake of Biafra. Biafra has a price tag. We must pay it. I've been in different prisons of Nigeria, myself. I've been in Kuja, I've been in Suleja, I've been in Kefi, I've been at Abakaliki prison. I've been on Onitsha prisons for the sake of Biafra. Nobody knows about this. The last time I was in prison, I spent 3 years, 6 months, and 2 weeks. I was in the prison. I lost a lot of time. My father died. So what I'm saying in essence is that Nnamdi Kanu is paying the price for Biafra. The major problem of Biafra actualization or restoration is the leaders of pro-Biafran groups. The entire leaders of pro-Biafran groups have never come together for once in a round table to discuss about themselves. We have our differences because of our different methodology or ideology we are following. All of us, each and every one of us has one or two mentality that is superior, that his own agenda is more better, more acceptable to actualize Biafra. And you want others to follow your own agenda. Whereas we have never discussed whosoever agenda or system or ideology. So these are the major problems. The problem here are not the followers. The problem here is not Biafra. The problem here is the leaders of pro-Biafran groups. All of them. We are the problem why everything is going this way. Whatever Nnamdi Kanu is doing on behalf of his own group. Whatever Emekesiri is doing on behalf of his own group. Whatever Chifra for Wazirike is doing on behalf of his own group. Whatever I'm doing on behalf of MASSOB. Whatever Prince Richard is doing on behalf of the Biafra Nation League. The same thing applicable to EPC and other pro-Biafran groups. Even Tony Nadi of Lower Niger Congress, he has his own system. The problem here is the leaders. That is the most important thing we must achieve. Not all this rantling. Nnamdi Kanu, yes, is in the hand of Nigeria. We can never abandon him. The people of Biafra can never abandon him. Currently, I can testify to you that Nnamdi Kanu, in this struggle for Biafra restoration, is a major player. Is a major stakeholder. We can never rule him out. We can't. So the idea of, in fact, he's not on his own. All of us are with him. 90% of the Igbo Biafrans are with him. So it doesn't matter if 2% say they're not with him. So the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu concerning Biafra actualization, the effect, we have to talk about the effect. It will never affect Biafra restoration. Even if Nnamdi Kanu spends 6 years behind the bar, Biafra struggle will continue. There are thousands of Nnamdi Kanus outside there. So whatever he's passing through is for Biafra. Yes, he may have made some mistakes. I'm aware. He made some mistakes. Some of his broadcasts are not actually comfortable with, but at the same time, we can never deny him. We can never back him off this time around. MASSOB, we continue to identify with him and every other pro-Biafran groups. Nobody knows tomorrow who is the next in line. If we continue to differ, if we continue to separate ourselves from the main core of Biafra, our enemies will start laughing at us. Actually, I understand there are many ways we can get this. Nnamdi Kanu may have believed in violence and armed struggle. Still upon that, I'm not seeing him executing armed struggle. All the ranting, we will do this, we will do that. I'm not even seeing any armed struggle in Biafran land. Some people believe in illegal aspect or involving politics in the struggle. Fine. Sometimes it works. But we have to gather and discuss about this. MASSOB, we believe in our own ideology. of sensitizing our people first, trying to actualize the Biafra of the mind. That's the most important thing on MASSOB. First of all, we must actualize Biafra of the mind. We want to let every Burman, every German, the entire Easterner to believe and know that they are Biafrans first, until when they start thinking like Biafrans, talking like Biafrans, you know, presenting Biafra first, Biafra interest first. That is when I believe that's our own ideology. So what I'm saying in essence is that leaders of pro-Biafran groups, as a matter of fact, must find a way of coming together, irrespective of one's ego.
Thank you.
First of all, we have to come together.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Emekesiri, I would like to ask you this question. Mr. Madu talked about the Biafra of the mind. Some other speakers have also tried to differentiate this Biafra of the mind as an ideology from Biafra as a political, geographical expression. How does your own agitation for Biafra, what type of Biafra do you actually believe in? Is it the Biafra of the mind, Biafra of the ideology, or Biafra as a geographical expression?
In the first place, when we started this journey, we have at the back of our mind actualize it.
Sorry, Mr. Madu, I will come back to you. I'm actually directing this question to Mr. Emekesiri. I'm so sorry.
All right. Thank you very much, moderator.
Yeah.
I appreciate the argument of my comrade Madu about their philosophy of Biafra of the mind, because what is in the mind eventually translates and comes out in the open. But if it continues to be in the mind without being made manifest in the open, it does not help us. So our own ideology is that we are Biafrans by identity. We are Biafrans living in Nigeria. Along the line, in future, we shall eventually get our territory back as Biafran territory. But for now, we don't have a territory of Biafra now. But we want to be identified as Biafrans. That is an argument which we made in court, and Nigerian lawyers were confused when we told them that we are Biafrans by indigenous identity, but we are Nigerians by citizenship. And then we made them understand the difference between citizenship and the indigenous identity of a people. That just like in Britain, the Scottish people, the people of Scotland, they are Scottish by indigenous identity, but they are British citizens. The same way the Irish people, Irish and the Welsh, all of them have their indigenous identities, national identities, but they are British citizens. So we now made Nigerian government to understand that we are Biafrans by indigenous identity, but Nigerians by citizenship. That was actually why I coined that name, indigenous people of Biafra. So we are indigenous people of Biafra living in Nigeria. We don't have a territory yet. And I made the Nigerian government, there was one argument I made in the court that shocked them when I said that the greatest mistake Nigeria made was to have spared the remnants of us. That if they had annihilated us the way Rome annihilated Carthage, there wouldn't have been any remnants today that will rise up as Biafrans. But for failing to annihilate us, the remnants are now protected by both Nigerian law and international law to rise up again as indigenous people of the land. So that argument silenced the Attorney General of the Federation, that because they couldn't annihilate us, the remnants have now the right to grow up again and stand as a people. So right now we are a people, a nation within a nation. You have to understand that we are Biafrans living in Nigeria. So we are a people, a nation within a nation. So that one is saying that Biafra of the mind, Biafra of the mind. No, that Biafranism of the mind has come out in the open. We have made it clear. In fact, right now, the customary government of indigenous people of Biafra issues national identity card, indigenous national identity card, recognized by Nigerian government, British government, and other governments of the world.
All right.
Because you have a right to organize yourself as a people within a nation. Under customary law, in fact, customary international law, you have the right to organize yourself as a people within the nation where you live.
Thank you very much. I would like to ask Dr. Nwaezeigwe. Dr. Nwaezeigwe, I understand you are a Neoma Igbo. How do you made a statement here that even though you are not a Biafran, but you are Igbo. Now, Mr. Madu is trying to say they want to sensitize every Igbo to recognize that you're a Biafran. How do you look at that? What is your position?
You see, that is one of the problems they have, because they don't have an ideological definition from MASSOB to Customary to Nnamdi Kanu. One of their problems is that they don't have ideological focus, no defined ideology. You can imagine what they're talking about. Idea Biafra on the mind, Biafra on the... What do you mean by Biafra on the mind and so on? And that was what Nnamdi Kanu was able to outwit them by popular support. Because Nnamdi Kanu had, even though he was not ideologically focused, but he was able to get the spiritual vibration of the people based on extant problems. Now, talking about my identity, first of all, part of the problem this we are making is to make Biafra, the struggle for Biafra, synonymous with Igbo nationalism. I'm an Igbo nationalist and not a Biafran nationalist. Biafra, you can be, not every Biafran is Igbo, and not every Igbo is a Biafran. I want you to understand that. And territorially, Biafra is synonymous with the old eastern region of Nigeria. The present Enugu State, Anambra State, Imo State, Ebonyi State, Cross River State, Bayelsa State, and River State, Akwa Ibom State. These are the ones that can territorially be defined as Biafra. Just as today, you have some Yoruba people in Republic of Benin. It does not mean that if they are talking of Oduduwa, they are not talking of Yoruba in Benin, because they are not Oduduwa. The Yoruba in Benin should not be part of the Oduduwa state. No. You also have a Jegem, the Ibibio in Cameroon. It does not mean when they are talking of, when the people, when ambassadors are now struggling, we now say that the Jegem in Cross River State will now be part of ambassador. No. The point is that territorially, we belong to Midwest region created in 1963. And that was the only popularly constitutionally created region or state in the whole federation today. And in our states, we have historical, sentimental and cultural unity that binds the multi-ethnic society. So I want us to understand that even the Portuguese who imposed the word Biafra on us and Benin on us drew a nautical line between the center of the Niger Delta, the eastern part of Niger Delta being the bite of Biafra, and the western part being the bite of Benin, historically in the 16th century. So I want us to understand that. So the idea of Biafra, no, and that's even the problem. Why the Biafran struggle under Nnamdi Kanu is having problem. Why? You put Benue people as part of Biafra, you put Benin people as part of Biafra, you just draw one map and put all of them without consultation. You get your Biafra. By the time Nigeria come, people will now decide where they will go at the appropriate time. But you don't impose yourself on them because of the fear of that domination, which is the main political element we are suffering today in Nigeria.
We thank you very much for that exposition. We are back to you now, Mr. Comrade Madu. You have listened to Mr. Emekesiri and Dr. Nwaezeigwe. what is your, that is, do you have any response to that? What do you have to say? Mr. Madu, please.
Well, my brothers, they spoke well, because we have our different understandings toward this particular issue. Like my brother, the last speaker, a doctor from Elombah, yes, he has spoken well. I must tell you the truth. The concept of imposing Biafra or forcing the people of Benue or some people from Benue or some other nationalities into Biafra, we don't support that. Everything must be discussed. Actually, when we are talking about Biafra, we are looking at the origin, the first Biafra, the Biafra that Ojukwu led. But at the same time, because of the current understandings of things, because of a lot of expositions, there are need for dialogue, for discussion. You know, our people, our brothers from the other side are always getting offended whenever their names, like the Just, the Urobos, the Shekiris, the Anyomas, you know, whenever their names are being mentioned into Biafran map, they're always angry. Yes, they are right, because they were not consulted, because they were not carried along, because it wasn't discussed. But from the back of our mind, we're not trying to impose Biafra on them or trying to drag them into Biafra. But what we are doing is that we believe in the same old Biafra. But since it is like this, that's why I'm saying that there must be need for us to talk and discuss. Not only the leaders of pro-Biafran groups, even among all the nationalities that made up Biafra, make up Biafra. We need to talk as a matter of fact, my brother, without this primary aspect of our own work. I'm not seeing Biafra coming. We'll continue to shout Biafra, Biafra, Biafra. Even there are this big space between the pro-Biafra agitators and the political elites. It's a very big space. There must be a harmony. We have to borrow leave from our neighbors. We have to borrow leave from our neighbors, from the Arewa people, from the Oduduwa people. That's the way they do their things. I understand that many things have gone sour, but still, there are still hope. We have a lot of homeworks to do. So all of us, we have our different ideologies. Those things that they thought is not possible, I believe they are all possible if we can come together and talk it over. Because the problem Igbo man is facing, the same problem a German is facing in the northern part of Nigeria, in the Arewa land part of Nigeria. Whenever a violence breaks out, all of them are being seen as Igbo. They are being slaughtered. Even a German, even a Calabar man, Uropa man, Ishekiri man, Akwa Ibom man, the Asa Fulanis will still kill them as an Igbo. They don't see them as a Joe, they don't see them as Calabar, whatever ethnic nationality they have. They all of them are the same thing with Igbo. They are being treated the same as in the Igbo. But to down here, we start killing ourselves. The same divide and rule syndrome. So, my brothers, this time around, there are need for us to talk it over, because more oppressive war is coming to us south, mostly the eastern part of Nigeria. If we can't put up our house together, all of us may be consumed.
All right, I thank you. Mr. Emekesiri, let's come back to you. You have listened to what Mr. Madu said about all the Biafra groups coming together. You have been, in fact, if we are counting founders of these Biafra movement, you will be one of them. You have been in this struggle for decades. Do you foresee a situation where, has there been a conference, a meeting of all these groups to say, hey, can we all, first of all, define our ideology, taking into consideration the points also raised by Dr. Nwaezeigwe in this program?
Yeah, that was the first thing that the elders initiated in 2014 the elders initiated a unity conference of all the pro-Biafra groups. Let me start with the observation Brother Nwaezeigwe made. People trying to draw maps and include other regions into the Biafra of their imagination without consulting those people. That is very wrong. They set that trap against us in 2012 when we filed a case between Biafra and Nigeria. The first question the Nigerian authorities wanted me to answer was, who are the Biafrans and what territory do they occupy? That was the first question Nigerian government put forward to me, 2012. Who are the Biafrans and what territory do they occupy? See how I answered it. If you go to that originating summons in 2012 between Biafra and Nigeria, see how I answered it. I said my clients, because I said the Biafrans were my clients, that my clients are the inhabitants of the whole Southeast geopolitical region, parts of South-South, and parts of Middle Belt. You know why I use the word parts? Because in the South-South, we went into survey, that's the interviews in the South-South. We found out that some believed in the Biafran project, while some did not believe. We also went towards the Middle Belt and sampled their opinion. We now found that some believed, while some did not believe. But the majority of the Southeast believed. So we now wrote in that originating summons that my clients are the inhabitants of the contiguous regions of the Southeast geopolitical region, parts of South-South, and parts of Middle Belt. Then they were asking me part of, which one constitutes the part of? I said the part of will be decided in a referendum. That was how we silenced them. That for now, we are a people. Our territory is not yet defined. In future, we will define it by referendum. They enter, they stay where they want. And that was what silenced them, and we continue the case. Because in international law, what matters is if you can define the place, even if the boundary is not yet specific. That is the rule in international law. If you can define the habitation of the people, even though the actual boundary is not yet delineated. So that was how I was able to overcome that hurdle. And we continued. So those people that are drawing maps and including some regions without consulting them, they're making mistakes. That's why I said that we are a people within Nigeria. We don't have territory yet. We are a people living in Nigeria. Biafra does not have a territory yet. There's a difference between a people, that's a nation, and a nation state. We are a nation within a nation state. So people should understand that and stop all these quarrels with Nigerian authorities.
We thank you.
Okay.
Is there any other angle of the question you wanted to before we go to Dr. Nwaezeigwe?
Yeah, I was talking about the unity of the Biafrans. Now, the elders wanted this unity, but the Biafran activists refused. I think that Comrade Madu was one of those who appreciated it. I think he attended the meetings summoned by Ikenga a few times or something. But Nnamdi Kanu, his people were opposed to it. In fact, when Cosmos Otobong and Mrs. Akpambo, when they came to the elders of Nnewi to present a document and for approval of the elders. On their way home, Nnamdi Kanu's people nearly killed them and buried them alive for paying allegiance to the elders of Biafra land. So you can see somebody that has this kind of mindset. How then do you work with him? So all this thing, like Madu is saying that Nnamdi is one of us. No, Nnamdi does not speak for the Igbo nation, clearly.
All right. Let's go to Dr. Nwaezeigwe now. Dr. Nwaezeigwe, my question will be, you have now listened to the clarification from Mr. Emekesiri Esquire. How feasible is this Biafra project to you, Dr. Nwaezeigwe?
Okay. First of all, I'm from a riverine area where we're trained on how to fish. And part of our fishing system is using chemical gamalin. You come to a river, a river. First thing you do is to move to the hose and scatter the water so that the fishes will now come out before you now pour the chemical to trap them. I see what IPOB is doing, because for now, Customary, people of Biafra and MASSOB are in a state of political or revolutionary comatose. They don't have any effect on the struggle presently. The only person who has effect, who actually brought the Biafran, the concept of Biafran struggle to international level, is actually Nnamdi Kanu, even though he has some problems there and there. So what Nnamdi Kanu is just to scatter that river so that the fishes can now come out before the chemical is poured. Not really the establishment of Biafra, because there are many problems. You see, the political demography that actually brought about the Biafra of 1967 no longer exists. Even that political demography at that time has its own faults that made the defeat of Ojukwu and the Biafran forces possible, because of the opposition of the minorities, their request, their demand for their own state, core state, and so on and so forth. The revolt of Niger Delta, the declaration of Niger Delta Republic by Azigbora, and so on and so forth. So you find that even before the declaration of Biafra in 1967, the Eastern region was already divided. So even that political demography at that time that gave rise to Biafra does not exist today. Today we have many. So if at all Biafra has to work, it cannot work under the name Biafra, because the term Biafra is scary to a lot of people. They see it as another form of Igbo domination. They see it as another cloak of Ojukwu coming to power. You see, that's why, even though they are dormant in the operations, that's why I have a little bit of sympathy or IT towards Lower Niger, Lower Niger scheme, political framework, even though they are not pushful, they are more intellectual than actually revolutionary. That Tony Nadi and Dr. My friend. That's why I look at them. So for Biafra, as they are pursuing it now, is only to create the enabling environment, the enabling political environment for a larger creation. For example, the Igbo people, those people who are talking about MASSOB, indigenous people of Biafra, and what, they're only concentrating on the Igbo of Southeast, because they are limited in political education, revolutionary education. They don't know what is called cross-cutting ethnic alliances. Look at Benue State. The situation in Benue State among the Tiv and the Doma is enough political fertile ground for the Igbo to extend their tentacles to the Middle Belt. The conflicts in southern Kaduna is enough for the Igbo to extend their political tentacles to the Middle Belt and then build a coalition, so that when you are talking about secession, you now have wider appeal. When you're talking about secession, it's no longer be seen as an Igbo project, because people will see the Igbo as always dominating. And these were most of the, and that was actually one of the problems that led to Aguilar's overthrow. Because of that, so I believe that Biafra in the name presently and in its geographical location of the southeast geopolitical zone cannot work. But Biafra and extended Biafra under another name, not Biafra, can help to bring a desired end, desired objective of what the people who are agitated to Biafra are doing today. Thank you.
We thank you very much. We will go back to Mr. Madu in a moment. But meanwhile, I want to remind all that at this point, you are free to ask your questions. We'll be taking questions from the public now. I want also to acknowledge the presence of Mr. Chido Onoma. Mr. Onoma wrote a book entitled, We Are All Biafrans. Mr. Onoma, you've been listening to, I don't want to put you at the spot because I didn't forewarn you, but if you would like to enlighten us based on what you have heard, and if you have any statement to make, I'll be very happy to, you can please unmute yourself, and then you can always, we'll be happy to hear from you on a point or two. Mr. Onoma, please. At any point, you can simply, okay, are you ready now?
Well, thank you, Elombah, for doing this. I've been in and out of the session. I just caught the last part of Mr. Wankwo's presentation. So I'm listening in, except you want to ask me any particular questions, I'll be happy to, give.
All right, you wrote a book called We Are All Biafrans.
Yes.
And let me give you, from what I understand, please, any of the speakers can correct me if I'm wrong. Mr. Madu is saying that, look, they have their own methodology for achieving Biafra. And their own methodology is, first of all, to sensitize every Igbo man that we are Biafran. That once every Igbo man is able to speak and think as a Biafran, then they will not start the struggle of actualizing the set of Biafra. Mr. Emekesiri is of the opinion that, look, you cannot talk about territorial Biafra at the moment, but, sorry, how am I going to classify it? Mr. Emekesiri, briefly, can you sum up your own position again? Quite briefly, please.
Okay. What I'm saying is that we are Biafrans, yes, by indigenous identity, living in Nigeria.
Yes. That
we don't have a territory yet. The Republic of Biafra ceased to exist in 1970. But the human beings, the individuals, are still alive. So we are a nation within a nation. We are a non-sovereign nation. That's a nation within a nation state.
But let me ask you a direct question. Is your movement trying to create territorial Biafra quickly?
Yes, we shall, but not now.
But not now. All right, thank you very much. Okay.
So what we want now is regional autonomy first.
Okay. Mr. Madu, did I get your own idea correct when I summed it up? Did I get it right?
Well,
or do you have?
Yeah. No, I don't have much to add. It's still the same thing.
Okay.
Biafra of the mind.
Okay.
In as much as we have the intention from the day one when we started this struggle to actualize a geographical Biafra.
Yeah.
But there are steps to be taken. All
right, I thank you. Then Dr. Nwaezeigwe is saying that, look, the Igbos of the Southeast are merely trying to create Biafra without consulting them, the Igbos in the Niger Delta, for instance, the Igbos in the Benue State, the Igbos in the River State, and so on. That therefore, the Biafra the Igbos are asking for is not feasible, it cannot be realized until they build the cross-cultural alliances that will make possible a greater Igbo nation, not necessarily going under the Biafran name. I think I got Dr. Nwaezeigwe correctly. Now let's go to Mr. Chido and Mr. Onoma. Now, what do you have to say, bearing in mind the book you wrote about We Are All Biafrans?
Well, thank you again, Dan, for doing this, and thank you to the panelists and everybody who is listening. I think we need to approach this issue through different process. We need to be intellectual about it. We need to be practical about it. But more than anything else, we need to be sincere about it. I listened attentively to your summary of the presentation by the previous speakers, and I seem to align myself with the thought about how the issue of territorial Biafra and the challenge or difficulty. And one has to be a bit hesitant here because a discussion around Biafra is always prone to distortion or misunderstanding, and people begin to label you. People have called me all kinds of names, they've said all kinds of things, and I've been consistent in my approach. I'm in my mid-50s now. I've been writing about, researching about the problems of Nigeria for more than 3 decades. My take, and I've articulated these problems in about 3 or 4 different books. I wrote the book, How to Reclaim Nigeria. The Nigeria is Negotiable, way before people started arguing about the negotiability or non-negotiability of Nigeria. I keep telling people, those who fought the Biafran War have no reason to regret it. It was something that needed to be done at that particular time for obvious reasons, and we don't need to go into that history. I keep saying that at independence in 1960, Nigeria could have been 3, 4, or more nations. By the time the Civil War started in 1967, Nigeria could have been 3, 4, or more nations. The Civil War was fought. It ended in 1970. We are in 2021 today. The reality, and I think Mr. Wankwo, if I get the first or last name right, talked about the need to align with other groups within that region. The question I keep asking is, how do you define Biafra? And I engage people in this conversation and say, oh, is Biafra, does Biafra mean Igbo? Does it equate Igbos in the Southeast? The region that we know as Biafra, the country that we know as Biafra, was part of the eastern region of Nigeria, which included other ethnic groups, some of whom supported and some of whom opposed the Biafra agitation. The problem is that Nigeria of 2021 is not the same Nigeria of 1960, of 1966, 1967, or even 1970. And I'm not going to shy away from it to say that, look, I'm not saying people do not have the right to self-determination. I'm not saying Nigeria can't break. It will be foolish for anybody to, but for that to happen, it will be perhaps the worst civil war in the history of the world. And the point I'm making is that the country has become so intertwined that breaking it or creating any clear demarcation, it can be done, but it will be at the end of a ferocious, bloody civil war for that to happen. And why do I say this? If you look at the history of nation states around the world, look at the history of South America, where the military took over. It was only in Nigeria that the military took over. They not only abused the human rights of citizens, they not only stole, they not only destroyed the governance structure of the different countries. It was only in Nigeria that they distorted the structural balance of the country. And that structural balance, it may have been deliberate. Of course, it was deliberate, and it served certain purpose. When the structural imbalance took place in 1967, the point was that it was at that moment that it became almost impossible. So a case of Nigeria now, there is this analogy of a war that Dr. Edwin Madu has written beautifully about Nigeria and the question of restructuring and all that. So you compare Nigeria to a wall and say that when you want to build a wall, you have blocks. So the blocks could be Igbo, Hausa, Yoruba, and so on. But in erecting that wall, which is informing or creating the nation, you needed to mix cement, water, and everything to patch that wall, patch the blocks to give you that wall. And I hope I'm making myself clear. When that wall collapses, you can't have those blocks, those building blocks in their origin. There's no way you can have those building blocks in their original situation. And that's the situation we found ourselves now. When the major problem, and which is what I think, and that's my position, we need to return to the status quo ante. And what is that? It's basically about giving powers to the states. And the states are the natural successors to the region. That's the only way I think we can amicably solve the problem. Nigeria was created as a federal republic. When the military took power in 1966, they destroyed that concept of federalism. Then Gowon went further to create additional states out of the 4 regions that we had in 1967. But it wasn't just the creation of states that was the problem. The problem was taking away the power those regions had. Essentially, then when they transform into states, taking away those powers that the states had. And that was essentially what led to the Civil War. So what we need to do is to go back, and it's a simple campaign we can all work on, both from the intellectual or practical point of view, and say, we found ourselves in this space. So much has happened between 1914 and now. How do we go back to how this state was created, which is the basis, on the basis of federalism? Let's give those, and there's no need for us to say, let's go back to the regions, because that's also no longer feasible. But the states are the natural successors of the regions. So give the states back the powers they had at independence, pure and simple.
Thank you.
That's my position.
All right, we thank you very much. I will have allowed our speakers to respond to your beautiful presentation. Thank you very much, Mr. Nnamdi. But because of time constraints, I will allow those who have raised their hand to either ask their question or make their comment, so that our guests can now build up from what you have just said, another question that will be asked, and then respond to them, because our time is flying. Right, let's hear from Mr. Tango Ugochukwu. After that, we hear from Jane, then Ugu Gideon, and Mazi in turns. Tango, please, first of all.
Elombah, the question I have is a little comment, but and it's thanks. I'm thanking Uche Madu, sympathy, showing that his brother Nnamdi Kanu, Nnamdi Kanu is his trouble, no matter what happens, no matter what is your because we all are the same victim. Who is victim today may not be the victim tomorrow. Then coming to Emeka, he presents a good point that let us do this thing in a way that there will be no problem. So it's different idea. What to be management? But it's supposed to start with a story for his brother that is in trouble. That's my view. Coming to Dr. Nwaezeigwe, since you said that, which I must correct and tell you that from our part, from our part, before the Civil War, there was a full consultation. Even the name of Biafra was presented by a Rivers man from Rivers State. What happened in the war is that a loser in any war has it happened all over the world. When he lost war, he lost everything. Whatever they say about you, they are guilty of the offense. The consulted people, the elders, even the neighbors. That's why somebody like Major will work with him. But When the other people see better chance, they see better chance. That's what happened. And that Adakaboro did not form Niger Delta. Niger Delta was formed by the federal group for divide and rule. Adakaboro was a student who was jailed for felony. You know the history. The system of Adakaboro was to give back to their evil. Adakaboro came in and they used him, and you know how it ended up. After the war, for the agreement they have with Adakaboro to be null and void, so Nigeria is a problem state. What we will do to divide Nigeria can be possible if we have the true mindset. Even though we don't divide, why is this agitation working? Because there is no roadmap to our problem. People are suffering. Nnamdi Kanu has supporters. Yes, it's the highest group in all groups because people, it's not the people, and people see that 80% or 90% of what Nnamdi Kanu is saying is truth. Is the truth or not about the truth? The cheating, these people are collecting loan in our head every day and nothing to show. Nothing to show is that it's no fault, just fault, nothing. So what I'm saying is that awareness, nobody likes violence, nobody likes war. Nobody should blame Ojukwu for the war. Ojukwu formed a corridor. This claim started for a long time. Ojukwu formed a corridor.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, so good. So should I go on?
I think it's time to rounding up.
No, I didn't hang up, but you stopped me. You stopped me, then I have to do it.
No, I didn't stop you. When I said thank you, it means round up. So round up.
Ojukwu, wait. Give us a second to round up then. Ojukwu formed a corridor. If you want to on this side. Ojukwu wasn't happy about the war even. But the killing continued non-stop. He created a corridor. And that corridor he created, just like say in the clear war, he didn't declare war. That's a corridor Ojukwu created, saved many lives, saved many souls. So, my brother, Dr. Wanfo, so if what I said now is lie, you can correct me.
All right, thank you very much. We will take one more from Jen and then we go back to our speakers before we take the rest of the two questions. Jen, can you please unmute yourself?
Okay, I think it's muted, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, right. Good evening, all. And it's a pleasure listening to all of you. I would put it like a question and still a comment. First, I would like to say, or let me ask, I would like to ask, people agitating for Biafra, one, what is the clear problem that this Biafra is going to solve for the Igbos? Because I've been listening and following following the different groups, and I haven't really, like, as a person, find out the clear problem that seceding or creating a nation within a nation is going to solve. I know, and I do agree that there's a lot of problem in Nigeria, a lot. There is poverty, there is no good structure for anything. There's no good structure for anything. There is no good structure for education. There is no good structure for employment. There is no good structure for governance. But my question is seceding going to solve these issues, or these people agitating for Biafra? Before you create a solution, there has to be a defined problem. It's the problem of the Igbos, different from what the Yorubas are facing in Nigeria. Is it different from the Benues, what they are facing? Is it different from what the Calabars are facing? Is it different from what the Hausas are facing? So that's number one question. Number two question, and I think one of the speakers made that comment that's what initially do put me off with Nnamdi Kanu's agitation is, I don't care what other people say, this is what we want. Who are we? Because if the different people are claiming that Nigeria is forcing everybody into a nation by force, what different measure are you using not to force people into your belief by force? Because what you're offering has to be different from what those you are accusing are offering. It has to be different from what they're offering. For me, I think there should be, if everybody has to believe that Biafra is not just, what's the word the author used now? It's now being Biafra by mind. I don't know the correct word.
Biafra of the mind?
Being Biafra, absolutely, being Biafra of the mind and having a physical location, right? Is this what all Igbos want? And how did you come about knowing that this is what all the Igbo, because you can't force every Igbo to believe something. If there is a referendum, I believe that the referendum is not coming from, on top. It has to come from down first. You cannot just say, it doesn't matter. I think let me be precise, in one of the comments I had, one of the presidents said, a majority of the Igbos want this. It doesn't matter if, 2% doesn't want that. It does. Like, you can't force anybody into anything, really. It does matter. If you're speaking for a people, the people, you have to be a true representative of these people. Somebody made that comment that there is a big separation between the leaders, the Igbo leaders, and the Igbo politicians. And that is true. And more, even the Igbo politician with the lead.
Thank you. So,
within the Igbos, already there is a big gap between the political leaders and the people. And then there is a bigger gap between the political leaders and the Igbo leaders. So where we get it, like, does it not make sense that before we look for something, we have to have one voice, and we have to understand ourselves?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I would think that this, your question and the Tango's comments, and even the presentation by Mr. Onoma kind of has one central theme defining it, which is, what is the defined question that this Biafra nation, if it comes to be, will solve? In other words, I think Mr. Onoma's implied question would be, if I read it correctly, is this new Biafra nation really necessary? Is it workable? So let's listen to our guests to deal with some of these issues raised one after the other. Let's start again with Mr. Emekesiri, please.
All right, that's a good question. In fact, very, very pivotal. Very, very good question. Now, the sister Jane asked a question: what are we really suffering more than other parts of Nigeria? Is our situation different from those of the West, maybe the Yoruba, the Tiv, the Jaw, and so on? Why do we want Biafra? Is it different? What are we really losing? Now, I want to just give one example. In a situation where a student from the Southeast scores in the federal government college exam, a student in the Southeast scores 80% and he is not admitted. But somebody from Zamfara scores 30% and is admitted. They call it quota system. Why? They say that in this exam, every region is given 50 chances, 50 slots. So if the people from the Southeast have 100 people, 200 people, 300 people that scored from 80% and above, only 50 of them will be taken. Then Zamfara State, who has maybe 30 people or 40 people in that exam, and the highest there is 30%, others 20%, 25%, 10%, all of them will be admitted because their quota, their quota must be filled up. But the person from the Southeast who scores 80%, 90% will not be accepted because their quota has been taken up. This is just one example. My son suffered it. and he scored 75% and was not taken, but his classmate who scored 33% was accepted. How will I explain it to this boy? Of course, by all standards, 75% is an A in the university. 75% is an A. But he was not taken. But how will I explain this, that you are from Imo State, and for you in Imo State to score, to enter there, it's not easy. But the one from Zamfara getting 33% will enter. How will I explain to that boy? This is just one example. But there are so many other issues that we may not have time now to start narrating. Okay. So, but if we now are able to manage our own governance, I mean regional, because when I'm talking about secession, some people are kicking against secession. Okay, fine. Even if we don't secede, but we are not we devolve powers to the region. We now manage our resources. We manage our educational policies, manage the thing by ourselves. If we in the East, all our children score 100% and we have a chance for all of them will enter the university. Those in the Zamfara state, if their children score 20, 30% and they want them, let them put them there, no problem. So if you want to admit your children with 10%, 20% in the exam, go ahead. So, but you cannot restrain us from moving, because of your own people who are not able to catch up. This is just an example. So we want to govern ourselves and develop at our own pace. That is why we are talking about regional autonomy. That is nation within nation. Yes, some of you say breaking up is not good, breaking up is not good. Okay, fine. Well, let us take the other option of being a nation within a nation, just like we have in the United Kingdom, where we have Scotland, England, Ireland, Wales, 4 nations in 1 nation, each one developing at its own pace. So can't we have that? If we can have that in Britain and Britain became Great Britain because of 4 nations in 1, can't we have 6 nations in 1 Nigeria according to the 6 geopolitical regions? So if you are talking about what we shall gain a lot. We shall gain a lot if we now begin to develop at our own pace. Look at what happened in 1963. It was the Granite Pyramid of the North that was used to develop the North. Ahmadu Bello University was one of the products, one of the things used. Look at the Western region. The Cocoa House was what used to develop Western region. Look at the Eastern region. The palm oil and the coal from Enugu was used to develop the East. So if we go back to our regional level, we will develop, every region will develop at your own pace, and yet you remain one Nigeria. At least let us start with that. So I will call it divided we stand. Divided a little we stand. But this thing, putting us all together with power concentrated at Abuja, is making us suffocate.
Thank you. Mr. Madu, please. Is Mr. Madu still with us? Comrade Uche and Madu. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes.
Go ahead, please.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes.
Are you? Okay, good. Before I respond a little bit on the questions or contributions from our listeners, I want to make a remark from what Dr. Nwankwo said concerning MASSOB and the customary government of Biafra, where he was making some assertions. He said that MASSOB and the other group led by Emeka, they are not relevant. And that currently they are into a political camouflage, that it was only Nnamdi Kanu that is relevant in the struggle. I wasn't happy with that statement. I think I'm seeing that as an abuse, But I believe this platform is not one for us to start abusing ourselves. Personally, I have respect and regard for Elombah media. I think he has to withdraw that statement because all the pro-Biafra groups, even the ones headed by Igbos and the ones by non-Igbos, we are focusing on the same thing. Like I said earlier, we have our different ideologies. 11 players playing for a particular team. We have 11 players. It doesn't mean that all the players must be popular, must be known. Maybe at the end of the 11, maybe about 2 or 3 players may be famous, may be popular because of their scoring chances or because they do score the goal. That does not mean that the 2 or 3 players are the ones making up the teams. There are other players in the pitch that you may not even know their names, but they are also important. This is all about evolution. So I don't really like that statement of that we are not relevant. This is my 21 years in the struggle. I've passed through many things, tribulations, because of Biafra. You can't say it's irrelevant. I lost my father and my mother while I'm in Kuja and Kefi prisons. So that is, so concerning what is being said about our sister Jane that raised a point. Yes, I think he raised that point to understand more. But I believe that every adult, every person from the southern region of Nigeria must know the reason why all this call for secession, for separation from the Yoruba, from the southwest to southeast to south-south. There are a lot of agitations. Agitation. The reason why all these agitations are growing up is because of the constitution of Nigeria, because of the way Nigeria is being set up, is being construed. We know that the problem of Nigeria is not even the Hausa man or the Fulani man or the Igbo man. The major problem of Nigeria is the British. The way they constructed Nigeria, the way they positioned Nigeria, the way they laid down a document, because I believe that the constitution of Nigeria doesn't contain or carry the minds of Nigerians. If by any chance that people of Nigeria will come together to write a constitution, I don't think there'll be an agitation for this or for that. But because these people, the British, they wrote this, though the people we are meant to believe that the military wrote a constitution for Nigeria. They wrote this. They used the Fulanis as their landlord, you know, to back it up, to continue to hold the peace for them. So what I'm saying in essence is this: the problem of Nigeria is the constitution. As long as that piece of documents is still there as the working document of Nigeria, there will be problem. Problem will continue to arise. There are a lot of inequalities, a lot of injustice. The marginations are too much. My brother Emeka just made a point of from the aspect of academics. There are a lot of things, socially, economically. There are a lot of slaveries our people are being subjected to, religiously, social and otherwise. Yes, even in politics, when we try to amend all these mistakes through politics, maybe trying to elect people of our choice as governors, as senators, as House of Reps, at the same time, the same people controlling the system will still manipulate or differentiate our people. They will still manipulate the political process of still imposing the people that they think is better. So when we look at all this, we have been in Nigeria. Our people have been in every part of Nigeria and trying to build up Nigeria. Even we, the Igbos, we so much believe in oneness of Nigeria, in progress of Nigeria. That's why you can see indeed we're everywhere developing Nigeria. But at the end of the day, we have nothing to show. We are not being carried along. We are always being treated as particular citizens. That's why we want to live. We want to stay on our own, to manage ourselves. We want to progress. We want to develop ourselves. There's no way we can develop with this present situation of Nigeria. There's no way Igbo man can prevail. There's no way Igbo man can excel more than this level we are operating today. We have this nature of developing ourselves. We have this nature of pairing ourselves with the Western world because we believe we can pair with them. But the concern of Nigeria is still weighing us down. That's why we are calling for separation. Let the Oduduwas be on their own. Let the Biafrans be on their own. Let the Arewas be on their own. Even the Middle Belt, even the people of South Niger Delta, if they want to be on their own as Midwestern Republic or as Niger Delta Republic, fine. Let there be a separation so that everybody can operate in his own space and develop himself. We can't continue to talk about Nigeria. Even the people piloting the affairs of Nigeria currently are thinking primitively. Imagine the set of people that are ruling the affairs of Nigeria. They are taking faculties. Their mentality is so primitive.
Thank you.
So backward.
So if you can round up, please.
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done.
All right. Let's listen to Dr. Nwaezeigwe, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me start with what he said. I don't by withdrawing one statement. I was telling him the truth, and he was telling me to. I'm a historian, and it's my own position to tell him the truth. In fact, in 1990s, in late 1990s, 2001, when I was dismissed from the University of Nigeria before being called back 9 years after, I formed Igbo interest in Lagos State. And Nwaezeigwe was just there, rushing behind Ojukwu, using Ojukwu's name to build their economic empire and all of them. What have they done up to this moment? So let's not go into that MASSOB issue because they're all disgrace to the Igbo nation. Let me go to the other question.
Well, if we, I think, Dr. Nwaezeigwe, sorry, Mr. Madu made a point here. It's let's moderate our language. Let me just put it this way. Let's moderate our language.
Simple.
No, you cannot tell me to withdraw. What moderate did I moderate? I didn't say anything wrong. I said
okay, let's leave the issue of, I'm only saying let's moderate our language. Make your point.
I don't know this man. I've not met him before.
Make your point, please. Let's go on.
Please, you don't need to meet me. You are meeting me today.
Dr. Nwaezeigwe, can we please discuss this point? Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, the author who spoke about structural, disorientation of the federation, I think Gowon tried to balance the equation in his state creation. Because I remember when Gowon invited Chief Obafemi Awolowo to serve him, Chief Obafemi Awolowo gave him one condition, that the only condition that I need from you is for you to break the power of the North. I know by that time, the Middle Belt undertaker were agitating for Middle Belt region, and the South, the South side, present Southeast, the minorities were also agitating for core region. And so it was based on that he created 6 North. It was Murtala Mohammed that actually created the imbalance. And the imbalance has progressed geometrically since Murtala Mohammed. So that was actually where we started having the problem. And I want to say that the present problem we have on Fulani, the problem was created by our own leaders. Gowon actually was able to put the Fulani down, and that was why he was overthrown by Murtala. Obasanjo brought them up because when Murtala was killed, the highest high-ranking Fulani man in the army was Yaradua, Lieutenant Colonel. And when General Obasanjo, and then you might discuss, say, look, you're a Christian, I'm a Christian, you cannot be, he said, who else? Say, let us get it. He said, we don't have a senior house of, let's say only a Lieutenant Colonel. Obasanjo, let us then promote him. Yaradua was promoted from Lieutenant Colonel to Major General. And that was our problem started today. So we created a problem. We created the monster that is devouring us today. Secondly, my thoughts about Azigboro being used and so on and so forth. It's not a question of Azigboro being used. Igbo domination, just as the Middle Belt was agitating against Yoruba domination, and the Middle Beltans were also agitating against Hausa Fulani domination. The Middle Belt, the Midwest region was fortunate under the connivance of Azikiwe and Amadu to create Middle Belt in order to divest Awolowo of his political influence. That was the actual reason why Midwest was created, not because they loved the minorities of Midwest region, but to dwindle this man's political influence. That was how Midwest region was created. And in fact, the motion for creation of Midwest region was moved by Obafemi Awolowo in 1962. But let's leave at that. Talking about the reason why the organization of any nation is necessary at this point in time, the reasons are legion. First of all, we look at this. Let's look at the two successful secessions in Africa today: South Sudan and Eritrea. Why? Eritrea, South Sudan, in their Juba conference, Sudan got independence from Britain in 1st January 1952. And in their 1947 Juba conference,
right, problem with the network. Let's take the two questions so that by the time he's back, our time is almost coming to an end. Mr. Ugu Gideon and Nwaezeigwe, please. Can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Yes, Britain said no. Britain said no. Oh, we have little economy to manage both countries and lump them together. And what is today? They are independent. Reason, it is another colonization. After British colonization, the Northern Sudan began to recolonize the South. The same thing in Eritrea. Ethiopia took over from the United Nations in 1952. And Eritrea said, no, that is another colonization after Italian colonization. And they started fighting it. And now, after British colonization, we are suffering from Fulani colonization. That is actually what we are suffering. We've not had it so bad, even under the British.
All right, I think let's take these two questions so that we round up with the way forward. Mr. Ugu Gideon, what's your question? And Nwaezeigwe, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
My question is just very simple. Why is it that the leaders in the Southeast, or maybe South and Southeast, are a kind of feeling not being part of this struggle for an independence? Why is it that even the Igbo social group and our political leaders are claiming or denying their involvement or their alliance with the struggle of Nnamdi Kanu? Why is it being difficult for them? What is it that they are seeing in Nigeria? Or is it that all these crises, all these killings, all these things that our speakers over there has been bringing out, all these measures they are bringing out, all these problems that the Igbo suffers in this union, that these people are presenting here, are they not hearing it or are they not feeling it? Why is it that they don't want to align themselves with this struggle for our freedom? That's my simple question, sir.
Thank
Okay,
you.
I'll answer that question.
Okay, go ahead.
It's always good to work with knowledge and knowing where we are coming from. Why is it that the Igbo leaders are not supporting Nnamdi Kanu? That's your question. Why is it that they don't want to follow this trend? Because the Igbo leaders made a plan in 1994 and 5 to divide Nigeria into 6 and presented the plan in Abuja, and it was accepted and approved by the Nigerian government. That's why you now have these 6 geopolitical zones. Do you know that? It is the Igbo leaders that planned it. That's why you people are just working with ignorance. The Igbo leaders.
Again, let's again moderate our language. I understand the passion that goes with. Let
me moderate. I'm sorry for speaking with that passion. Yes. But because of misinformation damaging the Igbo leaders. Yeah, these Igbo leaders were the people who drew the master plan. Now let me tell you why that master plan was drawn. We lost the war in 1967 to 1970. We lost that war because of this same problem that say that Igbo people are dominating this. They are dominating that. Now, the North was called One North. And what is One North? They were using the Middle Belt against us. If you remember, that war, that civil war was fought by Middle Belt. Whether Danjumao, Theophilus Danjumao, General Gowon, Jerry Husseini, all of them, Don Calbalio, these were Middle Belt officers who fought this war. The Fulani used them to fight against us. Then down in the south, the people of the south, which we call South now, that's the riverine people like Ken Saro-Wiwa, Adakoboro, and the rest of them, also fought against us. What was the reason? Now, after the whole thing in 1994, the Igbo leaders came together and said, let us draw a map for the progress of the whole Nigeria, not only for the Igbo. And what shall we do? They brought out the master plan, that plan, that Aburi Accord, they brought it out. And now, analyzed it. Why did this thing fail? Because General Gowon refused to implement it. Why? We considered so many factors and found out that the problem really is a problem of fear of domination, and then using some people against the others. So the Igbo intelligentsia now said, okay, let us give freedom to all Nigerians, freedom to every group. So they now created imaginary geographical cardinal points called South-South. In geography, there is nothing like South-South, but the Igbo intelligentsia created an imaginary geographical cardinal point called South-South, and then separated the riverine people from the Igbo people, so that the riverine people will no longer see Igbo as dominating over them. Then they created another geographical cardinal point called North Central, and then by the people in the Middle Belt into that region called North Central, and remove them from the North, remove them from the Fulani. So right now, the Middle Belt no longer see themselves as Northerners. So we created these 6 geopolitical regions and brought this thing before the Abacha Conference of 1995, so that every region will now be free. And it was debated by the whole Nigeria. The whole Nigeria debated it and agreed. We sent our men, Desam Mbakwe, Odumegwu Ojukwu, and Alex Ekweme, who did the presentation so well that the whole Nigeria accepted it and signed it. Today, we now have the 6 geopolitical regions. Every region now is on its own. So that the people of the South now, the South-South now, the riverine, no longer see the Igbo people as dominating over them. The people of Middle Belt now are free from the Fulani. So there is freedom now to every region. Can't you see that the Igbo people want freedom for everybody? So all we're now saying is this, okay, even if you don't want complete secession, let these 6 regions now, let the National Assembly now pass the bill granting autonomy to the 6 regions. Now, my brother, Dr. Nwaezeigwe, you say you have not seen anything we have done. Are you aware that we are the first Biafra group that presented Biafran case before the National Assembly now on regional autonomy? Are you aware? Are you aware that we are the first Biafran group that took Nigeria to court, and now our case is in the Court of Appeal? Are you aware? Are you aware that we are the first Biafra group that had diplomatic relations with British government, and we sat down and discussed with British government, and even this Boris Johnson was the one who signed our paper accepting the restructuring you are hearing about today? So what we are saying is this: the Igbo intelligentsia, the Igbo leaders are all in support of freedom. But the freedom is the type of freedom we agreed in 1995. That master plan is what we are going with now. And that is exactly what is going to happen now. Because few times, you know, wait a minute. Do you know that before Nigeria was saying that they will never agree to restructuring? Why did they turn around now to agree? Because when this thing was happening, in fact, we had to make a move to the British government to sit down with the British government to discuss with them. Let me tell you, all of you are Igbo people. Before you can do anything about Nigeria, you must sit down and discuss it with the world powers. You must sit down and discuss with Britain, discuss with France. In fact, right now, China is getting more interested in Nigeria now. There are 5 powers that rule over the world. So let us forget about unnecessary emotionalism and sentimentalism and working without knowledge.
Thank you. Let's hear from.
We must sit down and discuss with them. Now, eventually, Nigeria has agreed to restructure. You know that.
Thank you. Well, let's hear from Nwaezeigwe, please, and then we hear from Dr. Nwaezeigwe and Mr. Madu. Nwaezeigwe, please.
Thank you, Dan. It has been quite a very interesting discussion today. My comment will go like this, because there might be some young people watching this program and getting all confused with the discussion, especially with what transpired with Nnamdi Kanu and the rest of it. So what I wanted to say is that there is absolutely nothing as Biafra, nothing in existence that has any tangible consequence as Biafra. That is beside the point. Now, most of this Biafran franchise, as some people might put it, are simply, what should I call them? They're non-existent. They don't know what they're doing. They're just, only conceited set of individuals wasting people's time and in the meantime helping themselves with resources from our people. What are we talking about? What are we really talking about? That we will come here and discussing something that hasn't got anything to do with Igbo people, that's never done anything positive and has nothing in prospect for Igbo people, and we are still discussing it and listening to it. Please, let's not keep confusing our young people. We have done that enough. We must tell them to go and find something constructive to do. The people to hold accountable for your problem in Nigeria is your elected officials. Politics is local. Your governors get their allocations. Some of them don't hold local government elections because they pocket the whole money allocated for your local government. And then you sit here talking about Biafra this, Biafra that. What Biafra? In case of Nnamdi Kanu, we know that every action has consequence. All we can say is that let him, let him give him a fair trial. Like Emekesiri said, Nigeria has done quite a very, and have been quite lenient. As it been elsewhere, like in Saudi Arabia, they would have decapitated him alive, like MBS did to Khashoggi, or Putin in Russia, would have poisoned him with Novichok, like they did to some Russian agents here in London. So, Nigeria has been quite lenient and keeping things open. So let all this Biafran nonsense that has been killing our people, wasting their time, die down. Let us stop having this nonsensical conversation. Like the author you brought in here said, the only solution is let the states take more responsibility for what is going on. What are we discussing? What are we talking about? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Madu, let me put this question to you because Mr. Okoye made a point here, which I must confess I have had some other people also voice it out. Is this Biafra a distraction to a major problem of malgovernance in Nigeria, not least the Southeast region? How do you respond to what Mazioko have just said? Is Mr. Madu still with us? Yes, Mr. Chinenyanwok, we'll hear with you in a while. Please allow me to hear from Comrade Madu. I don't know why you continue to mute yourself after your presentation, and then I'll start looking for you, sir. Are you still with us? MASSOB leader, Mr. Uche Madu, are you still with us? Mr. Madu, are you still with us?
No, he's gone.
All right, thank you. Let's hear from Chinenye then. Can we unmute Chinenye? What's the full name again? Chinenye Nwogu. Chinenye Nwogu.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good, the host. I say, let me just thank you for the passion and for your continuous presentation of this program. You know, it shows how, you know, committed and passionate they are about Igbo development. I just wanted to be quiet until certain issues began to agitate my mind. Yeah, let me quote what one of the governors said recently. There is Biafra in the mind of every Igbo man. If Biafra is about, you know, fighting for the injustice that is happening in Nigeria, I think Biafra exists everywhere. But I don't know. I don't have it. I don't want to claim so much experience. But I've been involved in the Nigerian space for some time. I had a very bitter experience in National Assembly in 2001 when they voted on the oil dichotomy bill. In that time, it revealed to me that a country called Nigeria only exists on paper. And the Igbos are an endangered species in the Nigerian political space. But I just feel that the approach to take is to take another route, to expose our people, especially our youth, to mindless killing and brutality visited upon them by the Nigerian states. I had said this in many occasions, that what Igbos actually need is an economic independence. We can work and mount pressure on our political leadership and those elected officials at all levels to develop an economic blueprint that will build an integrated economic space for the entire Southeast. Today, many of us do very long flights to China. All over the world, people fly to China. I've had several occasions to be there. And I wonder if you have had if you've been to China, you will notice that that is one of the most difficult countries to visit in the world. To talk about language and food and all kinds of, you know, inconveniences to go there. But people go anyway, because you just have to go there. We have an opportunity. We must, as what Igbos need is to leverage on their comparative and competitive advantage. We are good business people. We are good investors. Wherever Igbo man steps food, he brings flights, he brings development, he opens the space, and activity, serious economic activity begins to happen. We can develop an entire Southeast region that is highly industrialized, that is strong economically, and that we can develop the master plan to build regional infrastructure, build a regional gas master plan, you know, build a regional power that can, you know, create a valve and open our space for massive private sector-led investment. The Igbos all over the world have capacity to do this. We may not actually need for an investment to do this. We have the capacity to do this. We can develop industrial parks, economic zones. You know, the 5 governors, the senators, the reps, and all the people, you know, can think together and develop a space where we can have industrialize it. I think that our continuous engagement in the Nigerian political space, for me, is a huge, very huge distraction. You know, if you just have noticed the style, close to every election, one northern leader or Yoruba leader will fly the kites that is the turn of Igbos to become presidents. And we will, you know, you see our political leaders fleecing our resources to go and massage the egos of Northerners and the Westerners. At the end of the day, when the chips are down, you will just understand that these people do not mean well for you. You know, someone talked about restructuring. Everyone believes in restructuring. Everyone that is marginalized believes in restructuring. But the, you know, elementary logic is that you cannot restructure a system that you are the most, you're the most beneficiary. If you go to the National Assembly today, for you to restructure Nigeria, you must deal with the National Assembly. You must deal with the 36 state houses of assembly. Which Northern House of Assembly, which National Assembly populated by Northerners will allow you pass laws and legislations that will put them at a disadvantage?
Mr. Wog, let me ask you this question then. You have beautifully encapsulated the problem faced by Igbo within the Nigeria polity. What do you see as the solution? Briefly.
That's what I'm saying. Igbo na-asị nwaanyị ụkwara na-ebido n'oge na-aga ahịa. If we continue to engage in the political space, in the political system, without value, and the way we are engaging, you know, in the Southeast, we have 5 states. 1 state is ABDA, 2 states is APC, 2 states PDP. That is not how we can engage properly in the Nigerian space. But like I've just done some analysis. I was one of those who helped Chekwa Soko reform ABDA. The vision of that party was to, because if you go to any national convention, delegates are elected from local governments. Kanu alone has 44 local governments.
Yes, I think we got this analysis. In what do you think is the solution?
Can we suspend on politics and build strong industrial and economic strong Southeast that is industrialized and that has strong economy?
But how can you do that? Let me point out something to you. You cannot let me ask you this question, then you can continue, because we have other people waiting to it. Let me first of all, please acknowledge the presence of Mrs. Josephine. And then there is one question I would like to ask you, if you kindly contribute to us. I may also acknowledge the presence of Obadiah Malaifa. There are some questions I would like to also hear from you, and Pamson too, from Plateau State. Back to you, Mr. Moog. Briefly, you cannot build the industrial base you are postulating without a strong energy sector. And now, if you listen to our author, Mr. Onuma, he is saying, and even almost every other contributor, Mr. Emekesiri and Mr. Madu, our contributors, have pointed out that the way the federation is structured makes it almost impossible for any state to develop. For instance, our constitution says a state can generate power, but cannot transmit power. And now the federal government, who has the sole responsibility for generation and transmission of power, have proved so ineffective, so incompetent in giving us 24-hour energy supply. How can we build the type of industrial base you postulate without power? Secondly, the constitution we operate gives the federal government the sole responsibility of the waterways, seaports, railways, energy. How can an Igbo nation thrive where the importer you want can only import from Lagos? Why should I be made to stop first of all in Lagos before going to Nnewi, my hometown? That's another question. So you cannot operate international airport without FGN. You cannot operate a seaport, no railway, no energy. How then can the Igbo nation build the industrial base we envisage within the Nigeria polity? 1 minute before we go on.
First is that what I will advise that the new power sector reforms that has tried to unbundle the power sector, we need to look at what it provides for. For example, geometric, in the few weeks today, geometric power will come alive.
I'll tell you for free that no matter what that bill you talk about provides for, the Constitution is supreme, and the Constitution says you can generate power, but you cannot transmit power. And it has not been amended to my knowledge.
And,
let's go on to better.
I'm involved in the development of Elombah economic system. Signed by the president. We have access to seaport. We're already working with the Nigerian Railways. We already have access to the seaports. Geometric is coming back to stream to power the economic zone. And we have already done power purchase agreements. Geometric have been funded by a multinational finance development institution. You understand? There are strategic, but these are, like I said, these are things the political leadership must give impetus to for smart people. Now, I don't want to use the word smart, to sit down and come out with a blueprint to run these things. If we, some of the two projects that I mentioned are running smoothly, and in the days to come, it will be like an example of what that kind of collaboration among the Southeast states can bring on board, for the industrial development of the Southeast. I understand the issues you talked about, the federal legislations and all that. There are very many ways. There are very many ways to deal with it. For example, the Elombah Economic City has a free trade zone license. And because he has a free trade zone license, he operates the East Municipal jurisprudence and laws are outside the control of the Nigerian states. You understand?
I thank you. Let me assure you that I don't mean to disparage you or disparage your point, but I'm only, thank you very much. You made a beautiful presentation. So based on what you have said, Mr. Mogo, thank you very much. I wish you would stay behind. At the end of this discussion, we normally have an informal talk that is not recorded or streamed live, where some of these issues you raised will be discussed, if you kindly stay till then. But first, let me pick what you've just said. Please, gentlemen, based on what we have heard from Mr. Mogo point out here, should we now say that the struggle for a political Biafra is a distraction? Can someone address us on this topic? If Mrs. Josephine Aneni is still here, please, I would like you to talk.
Who do you want to start?
First of all, if Mrs. Josephine Aneni is here, she has reached the top. So, but if she's not minded, I wouldn't hold it against her. She did on our platform before, but otherwise, I will go back to. Okay, let's start from Mr. Emekesiri now.
Whether the struggle for Biafra is a distraction.
Yeah, the struggle for a political Biafra, because let me interpret what Mr. Nwogu has said. Mr. Nwogu is advancing for an economic Biafra. Let me put it this way. Okay. Therefore, is the agitation for a political Biafra, is it a distraction?
Okay, that's a very good question. Now, the first thing you have to understand that he who holds power controls the economy. In fact, the Northerners have a saying, equal, yafikudi. That's money, that's power, past money, equal, yafikudi. Power is greater than money. He who holds power controls the economy. So you can do all your investments, you can, amass the wealth, create investments here and there. One single policy they will make will render your economy or your investments useless. So he who holds power controls the economy. So we must control our own economy. We don't allow them to now dictate what happens to our economy. They decide, haven't you must have seen when they shut down eBay, to shut down this, close down bank, because they're in power. So we want to control our own resources. That's why we are saying devolution of power. Devolution of power to the regions. Okay, let me look at this is Nigerian Constitution. If you go to the exclusive legislative list, now federal government has power to control even banking. You can't even establish bank without federal government giving you license. They have power to control aviation, that is airline. They have power to control sea, maritime. They have, in fact, even the trading you are talking about, let me read that trading for you. They have power to control trade and commerce, and in particular, trade and commerce between Nigeria and the other countries, including import of commodities into and export of commodities from Nigeria. So even if you want to export something now, you don't have the power, except the government, federal government gives you the power. So what are you talking about? That we just concentrate in trading and in marketing, but another person decides how our market will go? No, we want to control our resources. We want to control our own. That's why we're saying devolution of power. So when you devolve power, you remove that excessive almighty power of federal government, devolve it to the region so that we'll be able to manage ourselves and develop at our own pace. That's what we're saying. So you're saying, is it a distraction? No, it's not a distraction. And we must pursue it. We must get this devolution of power done. Federal government knows that we are very out for it, and we will push for it until power is devolved from the federal down to the people who really own the power. It is the people that own the power after all. So that must be devolution of power to the regions. Now, some people are saying, let it be devolution to the states. No, we are saying that same agreement that was made in 1995 to create the 6 geopolitical regions, these 6 regions that we are now practicing, power must be devolved to the regions. Every region has states already created within it. For instance, the Southeast region, we already have our 5 states.
I thank you very much.
The South region has their 6 states.
Yeah.
Southwest region has their 6 states. What we are saying is that power must be devolved to the regions. Simple.
Okay, thank you.
We cannot shy away from it. It is not a distraction. We are not breaking up Nigeria. We are not breaking up, but there must be devolution of power. Otherwise, there will be no peace in Nigeria.
Okay, we thank you very much. I think Mr. Madu has left. So let me ask Dr. Nwaezeigwe this question. Dr. Nwaezeigwe, you have heard what Mr. Emekesiri said. How feasible is it within the Nigeria context? Because Mr. Nwaezeigwe pointed out to some roadblocks towards this dissolution of power issues, the least not being the lopsided structure of the Nigeria Federation at the National Assembly. So how feasible will it be for Nigeria to, sorry, can you unmute yourself again, Dr. Nwaezeigwe, please?
The point is that the feasibility is very, very dicey. First, the last speaker has spoken very well on the power of politics, on the economy, and the Igbo think they are rich or they are economically strong. They haven't been as economically strong and rich like the Jews in the 19th century in Germany on other areas before the Dreyfus affairs of 1892 that led them to form the World Zionist Congress that led to the foundation of the Jewish state today. Let's leave that one. But first, under the presidency, you see, I think we have a reason, major reason for coming there, because we are gradually, moving away from the major issue. The Biafra struggle, I'm surprised this, my brother, last week I was talking about devolution of power, they are not leaving Nigeria. If you're not living in Nigeria, don't talk about Biafra. You don't then that's your custom. That's why I'm saying that's your customary government of Biafra. Does not have effect if you're talking about, because Nigeria as it is now can never see the light of day. I made it in such a way that creativity will always be demeaned by mediocrity. And he who holds power, we are not even looking at the power structure, the basis of our Nigerian economy. Who are the people controlling it today? Now we are talking of Fulani herdsmen. We are talking of insecurity. And it was this insecurity that actually propelled Nnamdi Kanu to international stadium. Insecurity. If Nigeria was secure, if there was no cases of banditry, no cases of herdsmen, nobody should have listened to Nnamdi Kanu. Nobody should have listened to his order on or sit at home or whatever. So we must look at first the security situation. Because even if you try to restructure without security, there will be no economic progress. There will be no stability. And even you are talking of structuring. My brother talked about the 6 geopolitical zones. The 6 geopolitical zones are not properly structured, especially in the north. You can look at it. They are vertically divided. They are not horizontally. When you are talking about middle belt, it is only when it is divided horizontally. That is when you talk about restructuring in the north. If you talk of northwest, it's running down to where? To Mina. And you are talking of the old northeastern region. Then you are talking of north central. You are coming down to even southern Kaduna. You are talking of southern Kaduna and Plateau. You are talking of northwest, east. It's running down from Maiduguri. So in all these situations, you still see the middle belts. Middle belts being alienated from unity. They are not united, they are divided, balkanized. So if actually the Igbo people were instrumental to the creation of this geopolitical zone, then they were very, very unfair to the middle belters for that horizontal creation. Because as far as we are concerned now, the idea of middle belts as a structural whole cannot be effective under the present situation. So when we are talking of structuring, we should look at the middle belt on horizontal zone, not on vertical zone as it is. The vertical zone which makes them be subjected under Fulani rule. If you look at the Oka creation, the interim Oka creation, when he took his coup, when he planted, we found that actually is the ideal pattern of creating a middle belt and southern Nigeria. So I believe that the only way Nigeria can move is by introducing an interim government, not under this democracy, because if we look at the president...
The problem, Dr. Nwaezeigwe, the question I asked was how feasible will it be? And now you now talk of interim government. How can that be done? How feasible is that? How practical could that
be? Yes, it can be feasible.
How?
Because, yes, we cannot. You see, as I said, the water has been scattered now, ready for fishing. You see, I've told people that Nigeria is a magical state.
How? Please, practically, how?
Well, first of all, let us even look at, Babangida. Who knows that Babangida one day said he will step aside? We woke up one day and said,
so how? How? Please, let's move on.
How? There need to be a revolution in Nigeria.
Thank you. So
if you want me to say it, there needs to be a revolution in Nigeria to change the whole idea and to bring the leaders to their knees, because presently the leaders are reeling in their ill-gotten wealth, primitive accumulation, and they don't even care that people are suffering. Don't care about insecurity in the town. So we need a regrinding.
Thank you very much. System. We thank you. Our time will still run out. So let's quickly take Jen. Okay, Jen, we've heard from you before. If you don't, okay, let's hear from you, and then let's hear from Chibi. You said you wanted to make a comment. After Jen, we hear from you, and then we round up.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity again. I want to say, like I've heard everybody, but I want to stress again, like before you give a solution to something, you have to really nail down the problem. The problem.
Yeah, I have a contribution to make.
Yes, we'll hear from you. We will call Abeng, please. Let's hear from Jen, and then I'll call you. I ask you to meet. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, Jen, go ahead.
The problem I, as a person, think of in Nigeria is, one, Nigeria has a systematic problem. Nigeria has a governance issue, and all comes down to the constitution. The constitution is wrong. if there is a systematic problem, if there is a governance problem, if there is an economic problem, education problem, the solution in a federation is for the people to call their leaders to order. Now, the Constitution does not allow that. The Constitution of Nigeria is too powerful and does not give power to the people. The Constitution of Nigeria has given the president of Nigeria the power to control the fund, to control the military, control who does what, and even control the courts. So that is where the problem is. Secession for me is not the solution. Agitation here and there, fine, it raises, awareness. But I believe that because, as the brother said, economic power to the Igbos. Nigeria is a place where we have different strengths. The Northerners are very powerful in terms of in politics and military strength. They have the military strength because most of them are police and army and navy. The Yorubas have this educational strength. If Nigeria has a good system, we will have different professors from the Yorubas scientifically developing our food, our products, and even, our, say, marketing system or economic system and whatever we have. The Igbos have the economic strength. If the Constitution is good, Igbos can be empowered. And of course, there will be a World Trade Center in Igbo land, I bet you. But now, it can't happen because there is no light. There is no two ways about it. There is not going to be a development where there is no light. There is not going to be a security where there is no light. There is not going to be a development where there is no road. Is secession going to provide this? No, it's going to worsen it. For me, what is going to provide this solution is the Constitution. And we can't, yes, change the Constitution without the senators. So we'll have to, as a people, call the senators to order and let the senators change our Constitution. Give power to the people, give power to the courts. We are a federal state where we practice two distinct, powerful religions, the Christians and the Muslims. So we should have a powerful court that is superior to these two religions. Number one, we should have a powerful court that is too powerful and overrules the tribes. We have very strong tribe and tribal sentiment in Nigeria. There are so many tribes, but the tribal sentiment are so much among the Igbos, so much among the Yorubas, so much among the Hausas. So we have to call our senators to order to give us a constitution that gives power to a court.
But I think if I'm interrupted, there is a constitutional review program going on now.
Absolutely.
So how far are the people participating in this?
Absolutely. And I am so happy about it. For me, it is a pathway to success. It is a pathway. I've been following, before I am so agitated listening to the senators because once they go there, they have no clue what they are even doing. If you listen to our senators talking, people who rule us, making laws, they have no clue what their job is.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to, thank you very much for your contribution. Abeng, please, can you unmute yourself?
It's Chibi, not Abeng. Chibi first.
Oh,
okay.
Well, everybody will speak.
Na Pasha.
Okay, yeah. Who's speaking now? Yeah, sorry, I called Chibi the other time. Let's hear from Abeng and then I'll call Chibi. I'm so sorry.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. And I really appreciate the program. I want to start by saying that we should reason together by first of all appreciating Nnamdi Kanu, who is actually the reason why we are here, for his job well done. And I want to say this, we really need cooperation. All the leaders, there have been no meeting. We designed a map to include others. There is no leadership connection with those other regions or those states that are supposed to be part of Biafra. How can this be done? Having representatives is okay. in different, but those are all individual people operating under their own small canopy, and some of them are actually hiding. The people that should be the target should be the leaders of those states. There should be a way that a small way should be designed. There should be some ambassadors that will be meeting these leaders and be discussing issues about freedom with them. Once the idea is sold to them, definitely not 100% people will buy, but those ones who are ready and prepared buying the idea will work well. That's just one of my contributions. Again, I want to say that based on what I see, things might not work very well. My own reasons are very simple. We have professors in Nigeria. That's why sometimes when we talk about education, some people say, oh, this region is actually educated. But in the real sense, it's not so. We have the North. Now we have North and South only in the whole Nigeria. That's the truth. So we have North and South. The northern part, Eastern North, Northeast, is designed all the way down, having boundary with Cross River State and Ebonyi State and part of Enugu State. North Central is designed all the way from the north, having boundary with part of Enugu State, having boundary with Anambra State, having boundary with Delta State. If you go to the other side, you will discover that it's the same thing that happened. So our professors watch our Nigerian map being narrowed down to become south, become the real push area to the water side. How do we sit down and see the geography that is being designed in this way and no one is talking? When we now talk about the issue of the system in where they have to debate, the Senate, it's not going to work. If you check the Nigerian map now, even if the whole Yoruba, the whole South altogether join, everyone casts their vote 100%. It is impossible to beat the votes of the North.
Thank you.
Because we've all been driven into round circles while they are actually lining up vertically.
All right, well,
So
thank
if
you.
we put all these things into consideration, we will see that there is a lot. And then I want to encourage the Southerners to start doing some other things by writing. We need to be writing proposals. Our people are actually not very good in proposals. If anything happens in the North, they tender their own proposals. Where are the proposals from the South, or especially from the East?
Thank you
or
very
even
much.
the South.
All right, we thank you.
Okay, so those are part of the observation I see.
All right.
And the final last part I want to contribute is this. The best thing for any successful person is to have a plan and a strategy. And there is nothing is wrong. I see this one like there is plan, but there is no strategy. And we're talking about political Biafra and economic Biafra. We need to design, this design of plan A and plan B should be in place. There's nothing bad in having two plans. If there are two plans, if the plan A doesn't work, plan B will fall in. So everything we do, because Abraham Lincoln says, give me 10 hours to cut down a tree, I'll use 8 hours to sharpen my axe, and then attack the tree with only 2 hours. That is plan and strategy. So if all these things are put into place in our region, I am very sure we are going to be very successful.
Well, thank you very much.
Is actually very good.
We thank you very much. Let's call on Chibi, please, and then we round up with our political presentations. Chibi.
All right, thank you so much. I do want to align myself with those who believe that Biafra is a distraction at the moment. Well, I say this because there's no evidence anywhere to suggest or to show that having Biafra will solve myriads of problems that have continued to plague Igbo people and Nigeria by extension. Well, the last speaker was talking about, proposals. And that brings me to the issue of, using data and science to solve problems. Unfortunately, in Africa, that is not the issue. All our decisions or solutions are based on sentiments and emotions. So it is very important that we understand the role of science and data in solving our problems. I have a lot of questions I ask them all the time about the viability of Biafra. Can you prove to me scientifically that that is going to help solve problems? So it is very important. Now, the first step in solving a problem or solving issues is to identify the real problems. What are the major problems that are plaguing the Igbo people? Are their problems different from the problems that majority of other Nigerians are facing? Now, if we're able to identify these problems, then we need to sit down and say, how do we address each of these problems? Because the last time I checked, the problem that is facing Nigeria, or the Igbo people, and by extension, Nigerians and most Black African countries is one, unemployment, corruption, poor education. What I find bizarre is that, you know, the level of education amongst Nigerians, Igbo people are just so poor, especially people who are educated in Nigeria, is just so poor. And you cannot solve problems without quality and good education. It makes you think critically and not think, you know, everything is all about emotions, everything is all about sentiments. And this idea that everybody will agree doesn't arise, doesn't work. You present your facts, we bow to superior arguments. That's how things work. So what I'm saying is that we need to focus on how to make things work in the East. A lot of people have said that the Constitution, yes, it has its own problems, but it hasn't stopped the Igbo. We just built, I mean, Anambra just built an airport. The federal government didn't stop them. We can develop the Southeast and then rely on, you know, some assistance from the federal government to do even much better. So what I'm saying in effect is that we need to understand the problems, what the problems are. As far as I'm concerned, getting, if you like, create 30 countries out of Nigeria is not going to solve any problem, because at the end of the day, the problem with a typical Black African is the issue of mindsets, mentality. The difference between a working country and a non-working country is because majority of those people in the working countries have the mentality to see their country succeed. Okay, corruption. You will agree with me that even your brother in the Southeast, now Igbo, you can't trust them to do business. Whenever money is involved, everybody loses his sense of morality. It is bad. Biafra can't change that. I can tell you that for sure. So let's work to make sure that we get the kind of society that we need in this country. Maybe we can align with other parts of the country if we want on something different.
Okay, we thank you very much. Before we conclude, if you are able to stay for another discussion that may last for about 30 minutes, we invite you to do so. Now, let's go back to our guests now. Well, you have heard how people responded to your presentation. Remember, our theme is the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu. What next for the Biafra struggle? So your concluding talks, please. Let's start this time from Dr. Nwaezeigwe. You stated the position where you started. You have now had contribution from my fellow speakers and then our listeners, what they said. Have you changed from your original position, and what do you think is the way forward in the struggle for Biafra? Are you muted?
You know, based on our topic.
Sorry?
I actually tried as much as possible not to be, diverted for the main course of our discussion, because you could see that the subsequent discussions have been too technically outside our main topic today. But the major issues, a lot of them actually misunderstand the fundamental reason for the rise of Nnamdi Kanu. Is when you understand this fundamental reason that you understand the effect of his arrest and how his arrest could subsequently affect the struggle for Biafra. I don't want to go into the issue of that economy or whatever. The point is this: the institutional people of Biafra has spoken. There is a major problem in Nigeria today. That major problem is being faced by the Middle Belt. That major problem is being faced by the minorities in the South is being faced today by Yoruba and being utilized by some Igbo. It was that basic problem that led to the rise of Nnamdi Kanu as a political personage. And that is insecurity, not really about economy, about education, about these are not our problems. Nearly every part of the country now is loaded with educated people. So education is not our problem. Even more, one of our problems is the misapplication of excessive education. That's actually our major problem. Our major problem today is security. Security of lives and property. And it is this state of security that has the ability to undermine whatever progress and whatever we can talk about. But that actually can, because of this Fulani, because of the bandits and so on and so forth, people actually saw IPOB as a force to, to confront the Fulani menace. Unfortunately, midway, the IPOB diverted from their main course and became, actually attacking their people, because most of the policemen actually killed were actually Igbo policemen. So this actually diverted their own attention. What I believe actually is that in spite of that, the impact of Nnamdi Kanu on that struggle, I don't believe in his Biafra, but I believe in his presence as a factor towards raising the people's consciousness to self-defense, people's consciousness to recreated identity, and
right.
people's consciousness to the issue of freedom. So I believe that his arrest now has even increased his popularity. And the government, I don't think the government will still believe that his incarceration or his conviction will bring the desired suppression of the idea of Biafra movement, the idea of Igbo quest for freedom, and then bring us to be subjected to perpetual Fulani imperialism. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Emekesiri, please.
Well, I have told you that, I have told you when I started that Nnamdi Kanu is facing a trial for the offenses they accused him of. Not because he is a Biafran activist, but because of the offenses. Now, if I commit offense tomorrow, they will also pick me up. But you have seen me, I'm always around, nobody arrests me. No, my members, nobody has ever arrested my members. You saw Zulu of Fuelwe presenting the Biafran case before the National Assembly. You saw him. And we are the only group that presented anything to the Nigerian authorities up to now. Now, why didn't they arrest us? But right there, Ofuele made it clear that he's a Biafran activist in the presence of National Assembly, and you know that the Senate has power to order for his arrest, but nobody arrested him. Why? So what we are saying is that Nnamdi Kanu was arrested because of what they accused him of. I'm not saying whether he's guilty or not guilty. The law says an accused person is presumed innocent until proved guilty. So he is there because of what they accused him of. Simple. Then the question is, what next? Nothing has changed. Biafra struggle. But what you are now saying is that we are not going all out for the territorial Biafra for now. I told you that this thing has a stage by stage, a complex project. I'm not only a lawyer, I'm also an appraiser, evaluation appraiser. I'm also an evaluation scientist. I do project appraisers. A complex project is phased. You do feasibility and viability studies. And if it's so complex, you phase it, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. The Biafran project has 3 phases. Phase 1 is the awareness creation phase, which has been done. Awareness creation is done. Second phase is this regional autonomy, being free within Nigeria. Just like we have Scotland is free within UK, Ireland, Wales, England, all of these, they are nations within United Kingdom, within Britain. So we want to be free to govern ourselves and develop at our own pace and have our own law, our regional government law, regional constitution.
Thank you. All right.
That is it. So the Biafran struggle has not stopped and cannot stop until we get to the destination. For now, what we want is regional autonomy.
All right. We thank you very much. We thank you, Dr. Nwaezeigwe. We thank you, Mr. Emekesiri, for being with us tonight. You mentioned Comrade Zulu Ofoluwe in your presentation. I noted that Comrade Ofoluwe raised his hand to make a comment or ask a question initially. I don't know whether he still wants to make a comment now, but if he was willing to answer this question, I will ask. The question I wanted to ask would be unfair to you now. I didn't want to ask it, but something you said made me want to ask it. I invited members of Nnamdi Kanu's IPOB to appear on this forum, some of them, but none of them picked up the challenge. What I wanted to ask is, can we assess Nnamdi Kanu method of agitating for Biafra a success? Dr. Nwaezeigwe said something about this method. Now that he is incarcerated, will his members now change tack and adopt a different methodology? If they have been here, I would have asked that question. But if you're advising them, what will you tell them? Comrade Ofuluwe, will you be willing to comment at this point, or do I go back to our guests?
Yes, I think I can.
Ofuluwe can answer it.
Yes, Ofuluwe, please.
I can say something on that.
Yes.
I think Nnamdi Kanu tends to have a problem with his methodology. Like Emekesiri said earlier, it was discovered early enough by the elders that Nnamdi was a wonderful person with regards to public sensitization, with regards to sensitizing Biafrans and making Biafrans aware of what the struggle is, just in line with what the MASSOB leader said earlier, that it's actually about building the consciousness of Biafrans and getting the world to know about Biafra. And that was the reason why they made him director of the media, of the Biafran media. But if you watch very carefully, apart from those who are emotionally attached to him, because we must be very careful about emotional attachment to the struggle. Apart from those who are emotionally attached, if you look critically at the methodology, then you ask yourself, what next? And many people have asked this question, what next? Like Emeka said earlier, the Biafran struggle from the customary government perspective are in 3 stages. And he has made it very clear what the 3 stages are. And if we look at the documents with which the struggle is being executed by our own organization, you will discover the ingredients in each of those 3 stages. But then when you follow the Nnamdi's perspective, you discover continuous public awareness. And sometimes when you get to the apex or to the zenith of the public awareness, it begins to have a depression, a diminishing return. We begin to have a situation whereby we have divisiveness among ourselves. We demonize most of our elders. We demonize almost all our leaders. We make it impossible for us to work together with any of them, with both those who have worked against the Biafran struggle, those who simply ask questions. For instance, the former, somebody asked me a few days ago what I think about Nnamdi being in prison and what's going to happen about his organization. And I asked the person, okay, let's take that IPOB under Nnamdi is an army. Who are the generals? Because in a war situation, you have the commander-in-chief, you have the generals, you have the other officers, majors, captains, lieutenants, then you have the foot soldiers. So when you go beyond the soldiers, who are the generals? Who are the planners? Why is it that Nnamdi was in prison for nearly 2 weeks and his members weren't even aware of where he was? Now that Nnamdi is incarcerated, who are the people speaking? Who does the world know as the leader of IPOB in Nnamdi's absence? Uche Mefor was playing that role. Unfortunately, sometime a few months ago, they had misunderstanding that had to do with leadership of each of them accusing one another. of leadership issues. Of course, every position also has leadership issues, naturally. But after that, it's fizzled out. Nnamdi is the leader of his group. He's a sole broadcaster in his media organization. Who are those people trained to take up the struggle? Where are the documents? Where are the roadmaps? And that is the reason why, like somebody said earlier, there need to be harmony among all the Biafran groups. Each of them has something to offer. Each of the groups have something here and there to offer. But each of them must respect one another and be able to accept what the other person have to give. If Nnamdi assumes the position, like some of these followers call him supreme leader, I think this is uncalled for at this stage of the struggle. Nobody needs to be a supreme leader. You don't have a supreme leader in a democracy. And the Biafra being built up is a democratic Biafra, not a dictatorship. Because you have supreme leaders only when you have dictatorship. So if the members, if Nnamdi himself and other people who believe in him could begin to calm down, like some of the steps that have been taken by the customary government, like submission, attempts to have a regional self-governing autonomy. They are all over the world. All the groups that are agitating for self-determination, most of them have got self-governance. Most of them have got regional autonomy. In Nigeria,
how will this regional autonomy work when Mr. Onoma, I don't know when we were here, when he was talking about his book, We Are All Biafrans, in that book. So he said the problem about returning to the 1966 region. So when you talk about regional autonomy, what does it actually entail?
Well,
in practical terms.
Yeah, one of the issues that have been discussed, even I think Onoma also mentioned that when he was speaking, is the issue of determining who belongs to where. The issue of the fear of domination. Currently, we are talking about Fulani political domination. And somebody mentioned about the South people being scared of being dominated by the Igbos. And that is the reason why many people have asked for a democratic way of determining where whom belongs to and who wants to have what. There must be the plebiscite. There must be a vote. People have to choose and people have to negotiate. People have to discuss. For instance, even if you're going to have secession today, the kind of Biafra we had during the 1967 to 1970, which was declared based on the realities of that period, based on the problems of that period by Odumegwu, compelled by the parliament of the Eastern region, by the elders of the Eastern region. We cannot really have that kind of Biafra now. People have to sit down together and discuss and agree to live together.
Thank you. All right, we thank you very much. That is so much we can take today. Tomorrow, we will have another discussion like this by 8 p.m. The topic tomorrow will be the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu and securing peace in the Southeast region. We're having two other guests, a scholar and an activist. So we will invite you again to be with us tomorrow, 8 p.m. to discuss that aspect of the problem. Meanwhile, we thank you, Mr. Emekesiri, for making our time from a busy schedule to be with us. We say thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we thank you, Dr. Nwaezeigwe, the scholar and historian, for being with us tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief Elombah.
I don't know whether Mr. Uche Madu has come back or whether his network has disappointed him. So thank you, guys. And then we move on to the next discussion.